The time is 6 a.m. This is Kusile Breakfast Show, the Tuesday edition right here on Eswatini TV. My name is Natsile Sitole. Glad to be part of your morning. And of course, I'm in the studio. This is not a one-woman show. I am joined by Sifiso Umano. Good morning.
Yeah, Natsile, doing good. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Just concerned about the low temperatures this week. In fact, they started when we were closing off the weekend. And it seems as though they will permeate into the next weekend. And it's worrying because there seems to be some activities happening in the country this coming weekend. And certainly we're from another activity this past weekend. I'm just worried about the flu, and if people have taken their flu shots or they're taking the necessary precautions not to, catch a cold, because we don't want that. COVID is still around if you really think about it.
Yeah, 'tis the season for low temperatures, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, it's a good Tuesday morning. Thank you so much for waking up with us. This is our agenda on the show this morning. Education takes center stage. In fact, not only education, but ambition, which is, of course, inherent in the word education. It takes center stage this morning, a world where future readiness is the new currency. One school isn't waiting for change, but it's engineering it. Waterford Kamhlaba will be hosting a careers fair, but it's going to be also orchestrating a collision of minds, of mentors, as well as momentum. Over 40 high schools from the Kingdom of Eswatini. There will be global universities. There's going to be multinational brands, diplomatic missions, as well as homegrown industry leaders. They will all convene in one place for one purpose: to unlock the future of the next generation of Emaswati. We speak to the careers fair head, John Stoner, I beg your pardon. We speak to John Stoner, the head of Careers Fair this morning, as we understand this bold move. What happens when inspiration meets infrastructure? How do you prepare students, not just for their next exam, but for the next decade, one that is coming with rapid changes? And of course, how do you turn a room full of institutions into a launch pad for possibility? Stay tuned for that conversation. It's happening at 7:30 this morning. The future is knocking, and the answers are coming right up here on the Kusile Breakfast Show.
Also, in the global landscape, this morning we woke up to the news of kidnappers in Nigeria killing 35 people. They abducted from a village in the northern Zamfara state, despite ransoms being paid for their release. In another headlining incident, gun violence continues in the U.S. as 4 people have been shot dead at an office building in Manhattan, New York City. Among them is a police officer. The suspect is reportedly 27 years old. For now, we'll be bringing you local news stories in Eswatini, and later a discussion on the measles and rubella vaccination exercise to be rolled out by the Ministry of Health. But first, here's a look at what's making headlines in print.
Yeah. That's it.
Right, welcome back. As I mentioned, we'll be taking a look at what's making headlines in our print publication, starting off with the Times of Eswatini this morning. The judiciary's plan to speed up justice, whereas a clearing committee for 29,000 cases backlog, 31 new courtrooms in the pipeline, 4 new judges, 22 other officers to be hired, call for time frame to declare cases cold. Also, in another headline, DD suspect bites cops chick. That's hilarious. And also in another headline, a mob kills rapist caught in the act. And of course, sealed with a kiss, Princess Umtimba party is back.
All right, the back end of this publication, the Times of Eswatini. These are your leading sports news. The top story there being the 2.5 million Emalangeni 8-bet Trade Fair Cup. That is the sponsorship. And on that photograph, there is a PLE chairman, Polycarp Dlamini. And next to him is 8-bet COO, Belinda Mota, the Minister for Commerce, Industry and Trade, Mangoba Kumalo, with Minister for Sports, Youth and Culture Affairs, Bongani Nzima. And this was during the launch of the 8-bet Trade Fair Cup at the Hilton Garden Inn in Bobane last night. On other news, a tough draw for Wesleyans. Wanderers face Green Mamba. Winner will play Leopard or Amawele. Tricky opponents for Mbabane Giants, Highlanders and Swallows. On another one, Heroes welcome Lionesses. And there's a 2-year contract offer for Ernest at Bull. No, that's it.
In the Eswatini Observer this morning, the U.S. has approved a waiver for critical projects. Also, in another headline, you can expect the Prime Minister, Rasa Dlamini, has recalled government cars from ministers. Another headline says, drama as mob holds cops hostage, kills rapist, community erupts in violence as angry mob drags suspect to survivor's home after alleged rape.
All right, Eswatini Observer Sports, it's back, it's bigger and it's better. The 8-bet is on it. Wanderers versus Green Mamba in 8-bet Trade Fair Cup. This tournament will kick off on the 30th of August and it's going to end on the 8th of September. Defending champions, Young Buffaloes will face Malandi in the 2.5 Emalangeni tournament. Other stories speak to the 1 million Emalangeni rubber compensation, which has halted Bulls' name change. And there's a question headline here. Where did 2010 FIFA Stadium grants go? While Mziago punches into African Games semis.
And on the Eswatini Daily News front page, a Taiwan delegation eyeing investment in Eswatini's growing sectors. Also in another headline, there's a 10 million Emalangeni to cater for designs of Sitogoto industrial area. Also, a Liswati has been featured in Guinness World Record.
Well, congratulations to Zandisile Hao there, making top stories, making big headlines. Moving along, the sports news, Eswatini Daily News. It seems as though this is the top story across all the publications. The 8-bet Trade Fair Cup, Sasibuile with the 2.5 million Emalangeni 8-bet Trade Fair Cup sponsorship. It increased by 500,000 Emalangeni from the first edition's 2 million Emalangeni, while the defending champions, Young Buffaloes, who face Malandi Chiefs in opener, vow to win it again. It's a perfect start for Ketselo in Algeria, and Ndar declares he's ready for his return.
Of course, and that's all that's making headlines in print this morning. As we continue with our show, Nati Dinzaba.
After the break, Dinzaba Eswati.
Ngiyobeleka bekunalomnye sisi nje satholana lesibhedlela singadani ukuthi sibelekele umuntu munye.
Ngisho ukuthi umntwana ngiyamehlika ngomuzi. Sathi ngathi umlahla.
Mina bengiphila impilo yokuhlala ngigijima ngaso sonke isikhathi ngekuba bede badala. Ngakumva nami ngitolala naye emapayipini kuNkulunkulu tosisifa.
Akabuyele emuva kakhulu ngemaqiniso. Asuyanyaza tena. Angithethi. Into wathi ngimdala. Akasudlala lo mntwana ngakho.
Siphinza senivusele ekuseni sisathokothela nathi tindzaba tetfu tesiswati. Make mengameli welive leMozambique, Her Excellency Gweta Chapo, sawuvuseleke emakhosikati ngemuva kwekufika emaphethelweni kwemtsimba nekuhlanganiswa ngelisiko lesilungu kwelizinyane umbanenkosi Sibahle nemkhwenyana Yasin Nunes. Make mengameli ube nemhlangano nemakhosikati yesilo edolobheni eMaputo.
Make mengameli welive le-Republic of Mozambique, Her Excellency Gweta Chapo, ube nelithuba lekuvusela emakhosikati yesilo. Lokhu kwenteke ngemuva kokufika emaphethelweni kwemtsimba welizinyane ebewuphume udekatembe kulelive. Make mengameli ubongele emakhosi ngalo msebenzi wempelasonto lobe muhle waphindze futhi waba impumelelo. Ubeseke make mengameli upha emakhosikati tipho tekuqinisa buhlobo emkhathini kwalamavele amabili. Ubuhlobo lebebuvele bukhona lobacalwa nguye umbanenkosi Mncingili kanye naNgongonyane. Make wemkhwenyana Diyolinda Nunes naye uvusele emakhosikati yesilo lapho khona bakhulume kabanzi umsebenzi lo wemdla waphindze futhi wahamba kahle. Make Nonisi ubese upha amakhosikazi Tipho ngemuva kwebuhlobo lobuqinisiwe baphindze futhi basebendelwa emkhathini wobukhosi belive leSwatini nemndeni wakaNonisi. Edintsabeni kubika Xolile Mazia eNathemba Mamba eMaputo eMozambique.
Ngemuva kwekuthi umthimba welizinyana umvanenkosi Sibahle nemkhwenyana Yasin Nunes ufike emaphethelweni lomndeni lomusha wephethelo lomsebenzi ngekuhlanganiswa ngelisiko lwesilungu esidlweni sakusihlwa lebesikade sibanjelwe edolobheni eMaputo. Lesidlo ke sibusiswe kuba khona kwamakhosikazi esilo kanye nesigodlo.
Umndeni lomusha wakaNunes ngemuva kwempelasonto yemthimba waphethele nampelasonto nokuhlanganiswa ngelisiko lwesilungu esidlweni sakusihlwa lebesikade sibanjelwe edolobheni iMaputo. Lesigaba lesi sicale ngekungena kwemkhwenyana Yasin Nunes. Ubese-ke kungena makoti ngemuva kwekungena kwakhe umkhwenyana. Lesigaba lesi semshado wesilungu sendeke ngemuva kuphetha kwemthimba walo lizinyane. Lo mcimbi-ke ubusiswe kuba khona kwamakhosikazi esilo bogogo balondolozi emazinyane esilo kanye nebamva benkosi. Makoti nemkhwenyana babe sebathatha tifungo embi kwesigodlo kanye nemndeni wakaNunis. Izinyane umvanenkosi Sibahle kanye nemkhwenyana Yasin Nunes basayine incwadi lesifakazelo setokuthathana. Esidlo besingenelwe nathi iphathimandla delive leMozambique. Ngemuva kwalesigaba umkhwenyana namakoti basike likhekhe lemshado. Umndeni lomusha wakaNunis wephethe losuku ngekudansa embi kwetivakashi ebetiyingcenye yalo msebenzi. Umsebenzi lona uhlanganise tivele timbili lekulive leSwatini kunye neMozambique waphindze futhi wahlanganisa bukhosi belive leSwatini nemndeni wakaNunis. Lobeka hola umthimba umvanenkosi Sigombeni uthe amakhosi anelethemba ukuthi budlelwane lobucalwe lizinyane nemndeni wakaNunis sekutawuba buhlobo lobutawuqinisa budlelwane emkhathini kwemavela amabili ekulive leSwatini neleMozambique njengoba budlelwane ekhathi kwelamave bacala ndvulo.
Akusilolanga letinkulumo bakhothi bethu kepha nje sidlulisa umuntu ukuthi imbube emhlaba isithume ukuthi asimlethe etandleni tenu lo mntwana enkosi nakhombisa nani kusemukela solo sefika nangembathweni yayo konke lokho kuyasithokozisa ukuthi lo mntwana simshiye esigangeni simshiye etandleni letithokomele kudaba kubili nje mkhonyana la sisakuqela imbube lenithandazele ngako kuthi le smile loluhleko lesilibona kokini nobabili nemntwana enkosi lumane luqhubeke lungemi sengishito umthandazo lesite la silethe nje inhlitiyo tethu kunifisela nekunijabulela nekuthi uNkulunkulu akuhambe embili etikwethu impilo tethu.
Lo khulumela umndeni wakaNunes Tiago Madonsa uthe bangumndeni bayalemukela zinyane ukuthi libe ingcenye yabo futhi badivela babusisekile ngebudlelwane lobucalile emkhathisini kwalomndeni nebukhosi baseSwatini.
And this also is a symbol of uniting of the two countries. Thank you, and thank you for all for coming. And Familia Nunes is one thing. We gain Siba, which is a pearl. Thank you. But we gained today, yesterday, and the day before yesterday, we gain a lot of culture. E nós ganhamos cultura nestes dias, ganhamos a Siba, que é Nunes hoje, mas ganhamos cultura que Eswatini brought us the culture. Thank you very much for this.
Ekusukeni kwawo umthimba esigodlweni elisithini emakhosi awufisela indlela lenhle aphenze futhi awuyala ukuthi utiphathe kahle ubeke embili inhlonipho njengoba eMaswati atiwa ngenhlonipho nembala ke umsebenzi ube imphumelelo eMaswati aphinze enda loku lakhuthathwe ngemakhosi ukuthi akwende lokuyinhlonipho nokutiphatha kahle. Jinsabeni kubika Pholile Mazia eNathabiso Dlamini naThemba Mamba eMaputo.
Likomiti lelibuke kusebenza kwelitiko letemtsetfo etimpungeni lithi uhulumende asekabuke ukuthi umtsetfo lobuke kuhlukubetana ngetebulili i-Sexual Offences and Domestic Violence Act usebenziseka kahle yini. Timpungabe tikhuluma ngesikhathi lelikomiti likhulumisa kusebenza kwemali kulelitiko kulesigaba sekucala semnyakati imali wahulumende.
Ekubeni indvuna yetiko letemtsetfo nemtsetfosisekelo umhlonishwa uMfana Nkosi Simelane etfule sandvulelo sakhe sekusebenta kwalelitiko kulesigaba sekucala semnyakati imali wahulumende wa 2025-2026 embiko likomiti elibuke kusebenta kwalelitiko etimpungeni leliholwa impunga Isaac Magagula njengasihlalo timpunga tibese tidzingidza lo mbiko wendvuna.
Nalabo lababuke tona leto te budget bamane bakhanze kufanele lokuthi bamane bayilandzele phela le budget. Mane bancinta kube khona labakuthola kokuze ukuthi lemisebenzi itokhona kufinyelela lekubantu
inde lemisebenzi kwalamacala akamani laundering ngoba ngiyabona lokuthi bekuna 14 sengede ka4 uyadibuka letimali letilapha tiledulu
ihlolane nihlolisise ukuthi le sort of act ya 2018 isebenta ngalokufanele yini ikakhulu ema prospects nema chances ukuthi iabuseke imanipulate
singaphele ukuthi siphasise imali njalo ngeminyaka and we see no results. Yet i-corruption sikhala ngayo eveni ukuthi is a major contributor yekuthi nje lelive lethu lingathuthuki.
Indvuna yetiko letemtsetfo etfulele likomiti letinye timphendvulo yathi endzabeni yawo umtsetfo lobuke kuhlukubetana ngetebulili eveni litiko letemtsetfo nalo lihhovisi leliphini ndvunankhulu litayibuka lendzaba.
Siyawusebenzisana sesike sihlale phansi sesibukisane ngakokuthi uhambe kusebente ufike phi. Sabonga nje sekusifundisa njengoba ubekisa nge-ad hoc committee ukuthi iphi phela ayibe khona ukuthi kuyiwe kuyothathwa imuvo yebantu ukuthi sive sakhala kakhulu esibayeni ngalendzaba yenkohlakalo ukuthi nelive nje ongathi lisalele emuva niyo indzaba yenkohlakalo akabone uhulumende ukuthi wendani wendani kepha ke leswatiko kwekuthi bathi nabo bawusebenza umsebenzi labanikwe wona bawudlulise kuya DPP.
Indvuna ibikile kuleli komiti ukuthi uhulumende utayibuka ayilungise indzaba ekugcwala kwemajele elive njengoba umthelela waloko ngokuthi tikhathi setishintshile emacala sekanzile eveni lobikako nguSamkelisiwe Khoza eParliament.
Indvuna yelitiko letemabhizinisi umhlonishwa Manqoba Khumalo ethile litiko licinisa tinhlelo tekukhanga abahlanyeli imali nokuthi ke kucala nekuchuba ibhizinisi kube melula. Indvuna beyikhuluma ngesikhathi likomiti lelibuke kusebenta kwaleli tiko etimbungeni litsingitsa kusebenta kwemali kuleli tiko kulesigaba sekucala seminyaka imali wahulumende.
Ngemsombuluko indvuna yetiko letemabhizinisi nekutsengiselana umhlonishwa Manqoba Khumalo wetfule likomiti lelibuke kusebenta kwaleli tiko etimbungeni liholwa imphunga Lindiwe Ngwenya njengasihlalo umbiko kusi leli tiko kulesigaba sekucala seminyaka imali wahulumende wa 2025-2026 lisebente tiphi tinhlelo tekutfutfukisa temabhizinisi nekutsengiselana.
Siwabona ama-factory shells ayinsika yale effort yethu yokudevelopa ama-industries eveni futhi ke kwenta naloko ukuthi emabhizinisi makafuna kucala aphangisa kucale ngoba kube batawucala batakhele bawuyawukhanza ukuthi labanyenti bathatha isikhathi lesithe kwenta le decision yekutawuhlanyela timali la ekhaya. Kuyasithokozisa ke kuthola le support lesithola ku-industry ngekunika ama-investors letindzawo letinako konke labakudzingako senda siciniseko ukuthi livele kangwane liyaqhubeka ngokuthi iqhutselane nalamanye emave ekuthenini libe live lelikhonako ukukhanga bosomabhizinisi.
Timphunga ke tivuniliselo nalitiko letemabhizinisi.
Kepha lokufike kube sikhinyambe indzaba staffing litiko li-practical kakhulu umsebenzi walo kuyabida lokuthola hanzeleleke uyawukhanza ukuthi bese bakhala nge-staffing.
Lo swatha lokuthi le mithetho ibe so light kangaka kusikangaba noma ngathi uthole lokho ngeke sekwendeke anything kubangelwa yini endvuneni noma mhlambe imithetho eseta yini noma vele iseta ulungiswa kepha ke bese ngakujabulela lokuthi kulungiseke ngoba kwethu sanje kuva ukuthi hey ngisho namanje bathi still water lagcwelela amatitolo kuthi approval lesibona ukuthi cha swasa uthi cha consumer maswati.
Ngicela nje kudvumisa indzaba yema factory shells ihamba sigaba lesithe ku addressa tindzaba leti sita hulumende ukuthi amekisa hulumende ebantwini. Lokho ke sikubona ngalokuthi lama factory shells spread ku onke ama regions. Sithumisa nje kakhulu umsebenzi lo wenziwa litiko kuloko.
Indvuna iphindze ithi nasekubhaliseni tinkampane uhulumende uyachubeka uyativala tikhebesi kude maswati asukumise tinkampane nemabhizinisi kamelula kutfutfuke umnotfo welive. Kanti indvuna itawuphindze itfulele likomiti lehloniphekile timphendvulo letibhaliwe. Lobikako nguSamkelisiwe Khoza eParliament.
Vuna litiko letindzaba tebantfu labasha umhlonishwa Bongani Nzima uthi kuvala tikhebesi letikhona tekweswelakala kwemsebenti kubantfu labasha. Lelitiko ke selesekela abantu labasha ngemathulusi ekucala nekuchuba ibhizinisi. Indvuna beyikhuluma eParliament ngesikhathi likomiti lelibuke kusebenta kwaleli tiko etimbungeni litsingitsa kusebenta kwaleli tiko.
Emsebentini localwe timphunga ngemsombuluko indvuna yetiko letindzaba tebantfu labasha umhlonishwa Bongani Nzima embiko likomiti lelibuke kusebenta kwaleli tiko etimphungeni liholwa imphunga Celimusa Mvoti njengasihlalo wetfule umbiko wetinhlelo tisebentwe kuleli tiko kulesigaba sekucala seminyaka imali wahulumende wa 2025-2026.
Labanetifiketi tema-skills lokhanza ukuthi uyabada khanza ukuthi uyakhenika khanza ukuthi lo munye ngumagesana so uhleli naso le certificate kanti ngawe yakhona ukusebenza litiko ke che lendele program ye-Motivate kule program ye-Motivate siniketeke labantwana laba lesesibabalile ngekwehlukana kwaletifundza
timphunga ke tibe setiyaphathisa endvuneni.
Indvuna ayicabangini ukuthi labo labafundzele kutfunga ukhanza sibatsenga noma imishini noma i-overlocker bayibeke mhlawumbe kuleyo nkundla uma laba abanye bebathole amathulusi mhlawumbe ekwenda lokhu bebangakwenda.
Tinhlunkulu boba betikhulu babasapota ngekudla lapha kule culture nangabe kunememo bayakwati labo babe lokho.
Ngagcina ngifaka ukuthi laba bemasiko bayazama ukubambisa imiphakathi nayinde imimemo. Ngifuna ukuthola ke ukuthi ngabe kuye kuchubeke njani noma ke kuye kubikwe kuphi lokuseyisaba nememo lokanje.
Youth seyiyabona ukuthi ifuna icashe esikhulu balakhuluma nge-entrepreneurship ifuna icashe nalabanye khona nje lesafika kubo sakhanza ukuthi benda umsebenzi lo aka-technology lo mningi sakhanza lo mnyaka lophelile bebacashe about 3,000 ye-youth. Commerce sithola ukuthi sekukhona leni kulungisile netiko laka-commerce kuthi baculi bakhona ukuthola ema-royalties la kuculwa ingoma yami iculwa nje ku-TV noma ewayilesini sekukhona lokutawuhamba ngikutfole lokho kuyasithokozisa sihlalo lokho.
Lo muntu lensha lelisitile ngokuthi icale leyo project after seyifike kulo 35 years ngabe ngibese senenda njani ngiyabona yini ukuthi ngimguide ukuthi angene kumbe ngoba phela kade yakasasiyo into.
Indvuna ithi solo liphansi lizinga lebantfu labasha labakhona kubhala kahle ticelo tekwesekelwa ngemali yekucala ibhizinisi kepha ke leli tiko lisebenta lihlelo lokucecesha labantfu labasha ngekuchuba ibhizinisi basengakatifaki ticelo tabo lobikako nguSamkelisiwe Khoza eParliamente.
Lijaji lelikhulu Bheki Maphalala lithi tinkantolo tingumgogodla welive ngakho-ke kumele tisebente ngekutikhandla ngoba tinemthelela wekuchubeka tigcine kuthula eveni. Lijaji Maphalala likusho lokhu ngesikhathi tinkantolo tihlangene ehhotela eGarden Inn eHilton eMbabane lapho khona tinkantolo beticola lihlaka lwekusebenta kwato. Lijaji lelikhulu Maphalala belikadze limelelwe lijaji lenkantolo yemacala lendlulisiwe Jacobus Anandel.
Kwakho loluhlaka tinkantolo tisebenzisana nenhlangano yakamhlaba United Nations Development Programs UNDP kanti loluhlaka lisuke eminyakeni wa-2024 kuye eminyakeni wa-2029. Ijaji lelikhulu Bheki Maphalala lebelimelwe lijaji lenkantolo yemacala ndlulisiwe Jacobus Anandel lithi lokumcoka ukuthi tinkantolo titsanze bantfu kanye nemsebenti wato.
The most important thing is to love justice, to love people and to humble ourselves before the Lord.
Ujaji Anandel ligeta ukuthi tinkantolo uma tisebenta kahle tingadlala inzima lenkulu ekuvikeni imisindvo engavikeleka njengaleyo lesukile kulamanye mave uthi kude ke lomkhulu kunalomunye embi kwemtsetfo. Lokhulumela inhlangano yakamhlaba lebuke tintfutfuko United Nations Development Program UNDP kuleli lindanqumala uthi kumcoka ukuthi sive sichubeke kutsemba tinkantolo uthi kumcoka ukuthi kususwe tihibe letikhona letiphadamisa kusebenta kwetinkantolo.
We want people to have faith in our justice system. We want people to know that despite my challenges that I have, if I can afford or if I can get some justice, then I know it will be just and it will be favoring the interest of the people and the human rights spectrum.
Bese hofisini laka UNDP Melusi Masuku uchaza ukuthi loluhlaka lokusebenta kwetinkantolo licuketheni kanti futhi litawusita ngani.
Strategic plan sigcile kakhulu ekuthenini tinkantolo taseswatini noma ke i-administration of justice ingasebenta kanjani ukuze kusiyente isiqiniseko sokuthi bantfu nabafuna ukuthi baye tinkantolo bakhona kwenkantolo bafike balithole futhi nalosizo balidingako kungabi mhlambe nalokhu lokubakhona mhlambe ukuthi bantfu basasale ichi kukhona kufika tinkantolo labanye abakhona kufinyelela nalesikhathi lesithathwako mhlambe ukuze emacala atekwe aphele ngoba ngilokunye lokukhalisa sivi kakhulu kade masikhuluma ngendzaba ukuthi bantu bafuna ukuthi mhlambe bathole bulungiswa noma ke justice kakhulu kade vele Eswatini kanti lokunye lokubalekile ngawenda strategic plan benze futhi ukuqala ucubungule naloko ukuthi ngabe la ngekhasi nje ku-judiciary lona letinkantolo kusebenzeka kahle letindzawo tabo tekusebenzela tingiletingito yini so nako ngilokunye loko lokusekhasi kulohlaka lokuthenini kufanele naloko lokuphunze kubukede kulungiswe tindzawo tabo tekusebenzela letinkantolo kona lama courtrooms ukuthi ngabe anele yini ngokuthi engeke ukhanze ukuthi abantu nabafuna kuyobona mhlambe amajaji noma mhlambe magistrate kude kodwa letinzawo indzawo ngenzaba ukuthi mhlambe letakhiwo tincane letikhona eveni.
Kulo mhlangano sikolwa lo kuvelile ukuthi selesibili lelihlakala lokusebenza kwetinkantolo leli kodwa leli kucala lagcina lingakasebenzi ngakuthi ihlangothi elithinzekako ukuthi vethe inshisekelo ukuthi libogcina lusebentile phela lolu lobikako uMfortune Dlangamandla ngisembabane.
Kutemidlalo, Jamie Pennington senguyeke lohambe embili kumchuthelwano losukunyiswa likomidi lelidlalisa iKings Golf Cup ngekusebenzisana kanye nenhlangano yabadlali labadlala umdlalo wegaluva ezingeni lelisetulu Eswatini Professional Golfers Association. Lo mchuthelwano uhlose kubambisa abadlali bakuleli labatawungenela umchuthelwano we-FNB Eswatini challenge ukuthi-ke bachubeke bakhona ukudilungiselela kusayiwa kulo mchuthelwano. Lo mchuthelwano utawubanjwa mhla tisikhombisa kuya kumhla tiyimfica kule nyanga lesetulu. Pennington uhambe embili ngemaphuzu langu-142. Kanti ngakulokunye sewusukunyisiwe ngalokusemthethweni umchuthelwano we-8bet trade fair lapho khona inkampani ye-8bet yesekelela umchuthelwano ngemali lengu-2.5 million emalangeni. Lo msebenzi bewubanjelwe eMbabane eHilton Garden Inn. Tingako tindzaba tethu tesiswati sitawubahlula emakethe sitawubuya ne-interview nanothile Sithole.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.za.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi.
Aba research bafunze.
Being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kumula.
Nathi kufuna sente ukukhiqiza lokusemini.
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. Discover just how far you go to expand your understanding of life's greatest mysteries. There's just one place on this planet with so much to offer. Now is the time for you to have the royal experience.
Welcome back. You're still watching Kusile Breakfast Show. On to this now. The Ministry of Health has launched a rubella and measles immunization campaign targeting children during the month of August. The campaign comes in response to global reports of resurgence in measles following disruptions in routine immunization services during the COVID-19 pandemic. While Eswatini has not experienced a recent outbreak, health officials are working to ensure that immunity gaps do not lead to future cases. For more on the MR vaccination campaign, we'll speak to National Expanded Program on Immunization Manager Kusile. A very good morning to you, Nkosi, and thank you so much for your time this morning. I want to start off simple. When we talk of measles and rubella, what is this? Is it a disease? Is it an infection? Is it genetic? What is this?
Ngiyabonga nothula ngivusele babukele ekhaya. I-measles incubulunjwana ngeSiswati. Ngicela kukubhica ngikhuluma ngeSiswati ngesingisi. I-measles siyibita ngencubulunjwana ngeSiswati bese nale rubella incubulunjwana yona but kulenye ilevel sitekele igama lalo rubella leSiswati ngasemva bese sithi ngumzala wa measles laba labajove nje itolo bathi uthi ngumzala wa measles but nako kuyincubulunjwana so incubulunjwana isifo lesithathelwanako sidzala sikhathe nje sabakhona and umhlaba I think nje thine njengelive saqala kujovisa abantwana kubavikela nga 1979 solo amongst the tifo libetivele tibukiwe ukuthi nativela emhlabeni tiyabhubhisa kakhulu itargeta kakhulu bantwana laba under 15 years yebo nakuwe wena umdzala ingakuphatha angicala ngalokuchaza nje le measles yodwa ndobe sengiyabuya kurubella measles alone it's a disease it is infectious through droplets lokusho ukuthi if the child lonayo or anybody lonayo athimula or like isikhuluma nje those droplets la kaphuma ke emlonyeni wami can spread and it's the so far iyamdlula kusho COVID the way le infectious ngayo cause yona nabasibalela labe science bathi one sneeze can affect about 15 to 17 children. It just nekusneeza nje kwalo mfana lona le lonayo le measles as long as labalaba laceleni kwakhe bangasi immunized bangajovi. Same applies because akukhona ukuhlukaniseka nakuveta lencubulunjwana nalo rubella. Ngiko sabe sesiyakubona ukuthi asikujove kanye ngenhlanhla kwase uba khona lo mjovo ukuthi sikujove kanye singakuhlukanisi 2016 livela seliyamuva ke ukuthi salilijova measles na rubella le tifo leti nawubuka lo mfana nakumcala ku like i-heat rash
okay
imake nje nakakubuka noma lo mkhatha ubona i-heat rash bese ke lo mfana uyashisa bese ke nangabe soloku uhledi akamlethe esibhedlela kuyachubeka ke emehlweni aqale emehlo akhe abe ngathi abovu akhala dinyembethe bese ke nalokuthimula ke kuba khona ke kube ngathi soneta impawu demkhuhlane
ngabe si deadly kanganani and particular kubantwana labaneminyaka lemingaki nje
si very deadly especially kuma under 5s
okay
si very deadly ganzi nalaba labadzala like ngishito ukuthi mostly si affect labantwana under 5s and then bese kubanga laba up to 15 years once sabedfuka lokuba deadly kwaso 60 sikabili njengoba i-technology say improved nangabe ukhanza ukuthi usheshe wabonakala uyalapheka but kukhona imthelela la kasala nayo lo mfana i-measles iyayikhubata ingqondo because it affects ema neurons akho emtimbeni shothi the nerves iyaku-affecta nawo so ungakhanza ukuthi lo mfana beka kahle everything atenda kahle but immediately after sakaphathwa i-measles very extensively so umkhanza ukuthi etinfeni etinye so slow kwenta tinvo kulokunya akasakhona uku-understanda ngale ndlela lobo umbona ngayo ukuthi it's a brilliant child kulokunye ningaze nithi nasafika esikolweni ngoba utokhanza ukunya nikuboni nakasafika esikolweni nize nibutane ukuthi hawu njengoba lo mfana ufana nanothile so strugglisha leni lapha esikolweni kanti it's the effect of imizis liyamphatha asesemncane.
Kulama symptoms because you mentioned ukuthi it's heat rash. Ngabe avele abheduke nje kubonakala ukuthi sonokucubuka thide noma it's something that takes a bit of time le of which sibantu siyaye sithi akutawuphela noma sibe sesithola imiphilisi or ama creams thide to suppress what we're already seeing.
Kuvele nje kubheduke nje ngekucubuka nje njalo ngisho ukuthi lo kulengcondo kuyayenga nakuvela cause kuvela kuthanza kucala lapsweni kube sekuyehla nalo mtimba yabo lo ukuthi ngithi heat rash lo ukuthi bomakela abaningi bayibabone kungathi vele i heat rash but utibute ukuthi i heat rash umfana ngayithatha because itawuvela vela ngalesikhathi kumbe kushisa ngoba nyalo lokuthi sitarget ukuthi sijove ebusika i rate yayo ukuthi ibhebeteleke iba a little bit slower yabo so ivela vele nje ukucubuka lokucubuka akusiko lokune bovu lokunani ngilokucubuka nje lokubathini kulihoyana but kupheletelwa ngile fever.
Okay, kulokucubuka kuyathathelwa na via contact kumbe sengimthinthile lona mfana or the adult that may have lama symptoms.
Ngeke ukuthole via contact but as lo anti nangiphefumula nangikhuluma lo mfana siside will start with the rash abe nale maybe kucale konke kanye noma kucale le fever kucala and then bese uba nalo kucubuka and then bese kuyaya ke emehlweni sekuyachubeka ku affect imphimbo so vete ema signs amkhuhlane yabo so the contact yami it's been contact nema droplets lakata uphuma na emlonyeni noma na and ama droplets uyati ukuthi ngingaba like ukhashane nami but lokuthi bengikhuluma la noma ngithimlele etandleni ngabamba wherever you can take them ngale contact le ukuthi lala ubambe khona ngilele bengithimlela kuko noma ngilele bengimsula ngako lawo mafinyilana labekaphuma.
Okay, and then my next question would be kukhona inema cases lesenwabonako on the rise, you know, that maybe senbone kuthi there are certain areas, risk areas that have then moved litigo to let's stand up, let's immunize or vaccinate bantwana, especially now that we're approaching the end of winter.
Okay, itsine asimele ukuthi kuze ukuthi sikubone ukuthi kuyabhedvuka because following lokho ukuthi siya immunize sibese sinalelinye lihlelo sithi i disease surveillance le disease surveillance ke yona ithi sikhuthata make ukuthi nakabona nje le rash nale fever akangabe solo athi heat rash utawuva nganesi noma dokotela esibhedlela kusinowa kusingcubulunjwana I heat rash yena nje nakabona le rash lenalokushisa akachubeka esibhedlela so lokho kusisita kusinaka fika lo mfana esibhedlela bambona nale rash ne fever maybe nalama symptoms akacalile bamthatha ingadi and then lengadi say tester in the country sibuke ukuthi I see positive into measles, I see positive to rubella. Lokho kusita ukuthi sibone ukuthi nale mjovo lesiyinikako isesekahle yini. Are we not having because kungavela kube measles ukhanze ukuthi sekuqhamuka sekuphekekile sekungilelinye lihlobo lwale measles lesingakayijwayele. So nyalo siya testa sikhanze ukuthi akusiyo. So leti nombolo tek test uyukhanze ukuthi ngathini tivela lapha nalapha ukhanze ukuthi udawuya kahoho ngale ngenhla ukhanze ukuthi ama clinics akahoho a reporter kunengi bantwana labane fever sibese siyalandzelela sesiyaya nalenza wena sesiyabuka lo ukuthi kwendekani sisebenza ngene bagcugcuteli nalabo nesi bema clinics ukhanze ukuthi no akusiyo then lama results ke ngiwoke la sitshela ukuthi sisengabi nengcubulunjwana but lokuvela kwalokupheka ukuthi bacubuke bese thina sesibuka lokujova kwabo ukuthi bajove kahle yini because kuze sithi bavile vikelekile kufanele lokungenani first year of life nakana 9 months ajove second year of life nakana 18 months abooste So nangabe sifika kulendzawo sikhanza ukuthi bantwana labaningi abakamjovi 9 months. Kusho ukuthi sekufuna ukuthi sende nje lokuncane lapho sibajove labo bantwana labo kuleyo ndzawo leyo kungaze bedvu. Nasikhanza ukuthi bajovile sesiyabuya ke lapho ke sesihlala phansi ke sesibuka idata yethu lokujovisa kwethu eminyakeni lesihlanu siye back like sendile nyalo. So nasiya back sesibuka ke ukuthi nyalo it's 25 so sisaqala kubuka ku 2020 sibuka ukuthi 2020 bangaki bantwana laba ngajovanga sibuka ngalama percent nangabe nje nga 2020 asimendanga 90% kusho ukuthi baningi bantwana bethu labangajova then bese say accumulate ke nenombolo. Luckily nga 2021 sayenda campaign during COVID cha kwajoveka kahle bantwana badala babaletha saba ku 97%. Lokusho ukuthi in that way nangabe simendlulile lo 95% during the campaign samendlula 90% during nje lokujova kwethu lokumashumi layimfica ekhulwini bafana 9 kulabang 10 labang 9 bajovile sesiwakhileke lolubonza lokuvikeleka but mbambamba sifuna lokugcina simthole wonke lo mfana. So nasesibala ke leti nombolo tethu suka le 20 after i-campaign ya 2021 sinendlela yokubala naloko ukuthi bajovile bangaka but iscience ithi labangaka kulesikhathi lesi batawukhona kuyigaya lomjovo bogaye kahle wakhela amasotsha kubavikela ingako sibabooster lapha ku 18 months ngoba ku 18 months ansi sotophuma isikhathi esiningi sotawuhamba ecrash nani sohlangana nalokunenge so kufanele ukuthi abooster lapha ku 18 months.
What is the total number of children or perhaps the percentage that you're targeting during the campaign lokunje satoqala nga August ngabe ma age groups thide yini vele nokuthi bajova once off yini noma tawumele phindze futhi abuye?
Nyalo nasenda le campaign it's a once off. Kushothi nasenda le campaign utawuthi lo mnyamtali wamumbana ujovile u9 ujovile 18 akunenzaba because nyalo sisakha lolubonza kokuthi luphakame kakhulu lokuvikela lesifo njengalo ushido nje nasicala ukuthi bomakhelwane sibedvukile lesifo. So uyadibuta nalemnyaka lephelele besibedvukile thina sangasitholi kusho ukuthi lolubonza lethu belisekahle but last year sibe nawo ama case emeasles but athi cwa I think saba nawo la kan 3 but that doesn't mean sekufanele ukuthi siyokhambela like ngishido ukuthi sibese siyaya le kule area la vele khona nangabe kusesikolweni siyaba screena labantwana esikolweni preschool screen le community la kakuyo sibuke ema traveling history ukuthi kukhona la phuma yakhona yini noma la khaya ukhona lokho wahamba wabuya wasiphathela something sadla singakagezi tandla usingaka especially ama fruits sibuke le tot involved. So ke sesiyabuka ukuthi last year sibe nayo ama cases lang 3 okay this year tested I think it's tested about more than 40 children all over the country but good lo positive but that doesn't guarantee us ukuthi sihlale size sibone ama cases sesibala ke ngale science ke nyalo kuthi nangabe kwasala 10 webantwana ngiyabekisa ku 100 nga 2022 kwasala 20 kanjalo labantwana laba bangaze bafike ku certain number sithi le nombolo yabo nasibabala yaze say accumulator yalingana nenombolo yetinswane talelive kusho ukuthi senisemgcengcemeni ukuthi seyingangena le measles.
Yabo ngabe kukhona intifunza kuleli noma tindzawo lani bona ngazothi these are high priority based on previous immunization coverage or outbreak risk?
Eminyakeni lephelele isifunza lebezivame affected bekulibombo.
Okay.
But nasilibuka lona this time ngilona lelicishe lingcono lelende kahle kuleminyaka lendlulile liyafika kulo 90
Okay.
Liyafika ku-9 but kusale lo 5% leli sesiyomfuna ke libonjeni.
Lelu bombo, sorry, to interject. Ngabe ngilokhu ngilama temperatures yini noma lokuthi inzawele kanjani?
Sisengabuki lama temperature because sinela kithi nalishisa liyashisa.
It's the same.
Sekuthi nasa sibhedvuka lesifo because nalesakugcina 2010 the child came from Gaho.
Okay.
But wendlula wayelibonjeni safika ebonjeni sagabuzela Gaho saba khona nje yabo. So we might say yes, climate wise sifike sibe favored ngama conditions nasifika khona.
Le rollout now that it's August, nida uqala lo msebenzi soon. Ngabe how do you plan on executing the exercise?
Okay. Si target abantwana laba around 165,000 laba past komnyaka long 5.
Okay.
Then labantwana laba regardless ukuthi ujovile noma kanye noma kabili siyabacela ukuthi bete batojova ngoba sinyusa lo lolibonza lesithi herd immunity ku measles if bantwana bajovile kulukhuni ukuthi ingene kithi sine sibatsala.
Okay.
Kanti sine seside specific vaccine for us ukuthi asijove nabatsala bavikele bantwana. So sidepende ukuthi live kuze libede measles funa kujove bantwana kakhulu. And lelo kusandeka ukuthi singafiki kumbe sinyuke siye ku 15 years ngilokuthi sibajovile phela nga 2021 laba labe betangale ngemuva. So we believe ukuthi bakahle going forward. Lokuthi sibajove bonke singabukile likhadi sendela lokho ukuthi stoqinisa lamasoja shothi somehow lone booster sesim booster more should abe seceleni kwelo muntu lona le measles noma le rubella the child will not be affected noma angathi like ngisho ngithi noma angathi unayo le rash udokotela sinasa simtesta it's not measles but it's other things. Why? Because the child ema socha akhe aqinile akhekile le emfanele. Yes. So ngiko lesikhutsatayo maybe kubuya kancane ku rubella I rubella okay bengisakhuluma ngalotho umfana yam affect ingcondo na imphethe futhi lokunye nakasa phuteke embamba angashona iyaw affect imehlo. It can make the child blind. Kan beka solo abona. And then nasobuya ngala ku rubella. I rubella cause lo mnyamphana nasitestako ukhanza ukuthi cause sikutest sirana kule ngade sesithethe sitesta kokubili le measles na le rubella. Ukhanza sesiyamtesta positive ku rubella u negative ku measles.
Okay.
So inkinga ya rubella ke yona ay affect lo mfana ngalendlela measles la kama affecta ngayo but kukhona ukuhlukanisa ukuthi le rash le measles ungakayi ko popolo yabona. So ngiko sithi sikuchecka konke inkinga ke ya rubella if mina ngingilomfana lona rubella nyalo ngihlela kuceleni kwakho and when we are planning to get pregnant next month and we ayithatha le rubella la kimi the child lo tomdala will be affected tophuma achwalile ane deformity.
Your parting words Nkosi, how can sive batali bangani babisa kanjani to ensure ukuthi by the time the exercise comes to an end the target ya over 160,000 children is achieved?
Sive singasibambisa ngokuthi balale nyalo nje sesivele sicalile ku 7 nebagqugquteni nabo health promotion nabo nurse bayatimemetela letindzawo ukuthi ngalesingakhi sidobe sikuphi sise clinic lama clinic nje lojwayele ukuthi uhambe uyojova khona then sekungilabo mahamba nendlwana labanye bato ecrash labanye gogo center kuya ngale community ukuthi yona ithi de la ungasithola sibane ngikhona ngula.
That's all the time we had. Kusile Dlamini, the from the Ministry of Health. We were just discussing briefly the Ministry of Health's measles and rubella campaign that is soon to take place, that is soon rather to be executed to prevent potential outbreaks and strengthen community immunity through widespread vaccination efforts. That's all for now. Nasibuya will take things up.
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. Discover just how far you go to expand your understanding of life's greatest mysteries. There's just one place on this planet with so much to offer. Now is the time for you to have the royal experience.
Welcome back. You're still watching Kusile Breakfast Show. It's now time for our traffic update with Setro. Dlamini sikuvusele Nkosi ngabe nje imigwaqo elive ime njani namhla ekuseni?
Anguvusele Mthiyane, ngivusele nabo bonke lababukele sona sibuko seMaswati. Namuhla ekuseni imigwaqo yelive sesihlolile. Lokukhona nje ke lesikubonile kungaba ngiwo phela sino lesibonakala la indzaweni takubombabane nakhona na ukhuphuka ubheke lapha bomotshane kunxusa nje ke ukuthi eMaswati asathigeka imoto tabo angatheli phela imali lashisako kuwo emawindscreen afake wona imali labanzako ngoba lawa lashisako hawo sebese salibulala lifastelo yani ke imigwaqweni yelive nasesayibuka yona awu sibonile ukuthi tibane letingasebenzi nginasiyale silapha eRemand Center etindzaweni letinye ngekwehlukana lesikunakile kungaba ngiyo imfuyo lebonakalako ukuthi nayo imigwaqo bese sesiyanxusa ke ukuthi bantu abethu phela kwathise lokuthi nangu umsingano banzabo vele ulukhungetshelanga kithi kungaba kucela nje ke ukuthi simnciphise intubane ikakhulu kuwo mahlangana amgwaqo nakhona lapho batawufikelela ngakhona esikolweni emapedestrian crossing sibanikeze ithuba lokuthi bawele ngalokukhulu ukuphepha labanye ke batawuthatha emathuba ukuthi bantu abafuni kusala bese sebalayisha imoto ngelinani lelingetulu kwemandla ato siyanxusa nje ke ukuthi umkhubano kanjalo masingawendi ngoba uye bese sowusigilela khona ebubhelelweni izingoti ngaphandle kwaloko sithole ngileto leninato elangeni lamuhla ngethembe ukuthi sitawuphepha sisayisebenzisa ikakhulu imigwaqo yelizwe.
Nkosi, that was Setlo Dlamini giving us the traffic update this morning. Stay tuned. Things are coming through.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi
Aba-researche bafunze.
Being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula.
Nathi kufuna sente ukukhicita lokusemini.
Welcome back. It is now time for our English news bulletin right here on Kusile Breakfast Show. The First Lady of the Republic of Mozambique has met with Kusile to His Majesty while in Maputo. This meeting occurred following the conclusion of the traditional and Western wedding of Her Royal Highness Princess Sibahle.
The First Lady of the Republic of Mozambique, Her Excellency Geta Chapo, had a chance to meet with Kusile to His Majesty King Eswatini III. This occurrence happened after the conclusion of the traditional wedding of Her Royal Highness Princess Sibahle, which took place at Katemba. Her Excellency congratulated their Majesties for the beautiful and successful event that occurred over the weekend. The First Lady presented Kusile with gifts as a form of appreciation and a sign of strengthening the cordial relations between the two countries, which began so many years ago. The relations started a long time ago by Princess Mngile and Mvungunyane. The mother of the groom, Diolinda Nunes, also met with Kusile on a light note following the busy weekend. Mrs. Nunes also presented Kusile with gifts following mending and cementing the relationship between the royal family and the Nunes family. On the news, I'm Polile Mazia with Temba Mamba in Maputo, Mozambique.
After the traditional Umthimba ceremony of Her Royal Highness Princess Sibahle and the groom Yasin Nunes, the new Nunes family went on to seal their union by exchanging vows at a dinner that was held in Maputo. This event was graced by Kusile to His Majesty and the royal family. In our next story, the Ministry of Justice Portfolio Committee says while the Sexual Offences and Domestic Violence Act plays a vital role in protecting victims and addressing gender-based violence, there are growing concerns about its potential misuse.
The preamble by the Honourable Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, Prince Melane, on the performance of the ministry, the Senate Portfolio Committee led by Senator Isaac Makakula debated the ministry's report.
Nalabo lababuke tona leto te budgets pamane bakhanze kufanele lokuthi pamane bayilandzele phela le budget mane bancinta kube khona labakuthola ukuze ukuthi lemisebenzi tokhona kufinyelela lekubantu
indlela emisekwa kwalamacala akamani laundering ngoba ngiyabona lokho ukuthi bekuna 14 sengede ka4 uyadibuka letimali letilapha tiledulu
ihlolane nihlolisise ukuthi le sort of act ya 2018 isebenta ngalokufanele yini ikakhulu ema prospects nema chances ukuthi iabuse imanipulate
singaphele ukuthi siphasise imali njalo ngeminyaka and we see no results yet i-corruption sikhala ngayo eveni ukuthi is a major contributor yekuthi nje lelive lethu lingathuthuki.
The Honourable Minister gave responses saying the ministry, together with the Deputy Prime Minister's office, will sit down and look into the review of the Sexual Offences and Domestic Violence Act.
Siyawusebenzisana sesike sihlale phansi sesibukisane ngokuthi uthambe kusebenzele ufike phi sisive sakhala kakhulu esibayeni ngalendzaba yenkohlakalo ukuthi nelive nje ongathi lisalele emuva ngiyo indzaba yenkohlakalo.
The Honourable Minister further informed the committee that the ministry acknowledges the overcrowding of local correctional facilities and measures to address this are on the pipeline. Reporting Samgalsiwe Koza, Parliament.
The Honourable Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade, Manqoba Khumalo, says government remains focused on strengthening policies and strategies aimed at promoting and attracting international investment. The Honourable Minister was speaking in Parliament during the debate of the ministry's performance report.
On Monday, the Honourable Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade, Manqoba Khumalo, tabled his preamble on how the ministry performed during the first quarter of the 2025-2026 financial year before a Senate Portfolio Committee led by Senator Lindiwe Ngwenya as the chairperson.
Swabona ama-factory shells
ayinsika yale effort yethu yokudevelopa ama-industries even. Kuyasithokozisa ke kuthola le support lesiyithola ku-industry. Ngekunika ama-investors letindzawo letinako konke labakudingako. Senda siciniseko ukuthi livele kangwane liyaqhubeka ngokuthi iqhutselane nalamanye amave ekuthenini libe live lelikhona ukukhanga bosomabhizinisi.
The Noble Committee debated the report.
Litiko li-practical kakhulu. Umsebenzi walo kuyabida lokuthola hanzeleleke. Uyawukhanza ukuthi bese bakhala nge-staffing.
Lo swasa lokuthi lemithetho ibe so light kangaka kusikangaka ba noma ngathi uthole lokho ngeke sekwendeke anything kubangelwa yini kwethu sanje kuva ukuthi hey ngisho namantu bathi still water lagcwelela amatitolo kuthi approval lesibona ukuthi cha swasa usicha consumer Maswati.
Ngicela nje kudumisa indzaba yema factory shells ihamba sigaba lesithe ku addressa tindzaba leti sita hulumende ukuthi amexa hulumende ebantwini. Lokho ke sikubona ngalokuthi lama factory shells are spread ku onke ama regions. Sithumisa nje kakhulu umsebenzi lo wenziwa litiko kuloko.
The Noble Minister in his report said government is working closely with development partners on how to improve the ease of doing business in the country. Reporting Samgal Siwe Khoza, Parliament.
The Eswatini Biggest Prize is not just an event to raise funds for the elderly, it's a vibrant celebration of community, culture and local enterprise. The event provides a powerful platform for local businesses to showcase their wares and for companies, including SMEs, to exhibit their brands. Philan Maswati Charity Organization Chairperson Lutho Dlamini said this year over 100 exhibitors participated, bringing energy, variety and innovation to the Braai grounds.
The Mbiveni Biggest Braai, created by Philani Maswati Charity Organization under the patronage of Her Majesty the Indlovukazi, raises funds to support elderly and vulnerable groups in the country. Around 60% of the charity's annual revenue comes via proceeds from the Braai Festival. Held at Manzini's Mavuso Trade Center, this event is no longer about helping the elderly, but also boost economic growth. The chairperson Lutho Dlamini announced that over 10,000 revelers attended this year's Biggest Braai. He further stated that more than 100 companies, including various businesses, took part in the exhibition. According to the chairperson, the event aims to provide local businesses, particularly small-scale enterprises, with the opportunity to showcase their products and services, network and grow. The proceeds from the Mbiveni Biggest Braai are primarily directed towards supporting the Philani Maswati Charity Organization and its initiatives. The event encourages community participation and support for the elderly and the vulnerable, promoting a culture of care and responsibility. Reporting, Nelson Langamandla, Derek Msibi, Manzini.
The government is on a mission to boost exports, a crucial driver of economic growth. Exports mean more jobs, more investment, and a stronger economy for Eswatini. To encourage more companies to tap into global markets, the Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority is once again hosting the prestigious Eswatini National Export Excellence Awards. This initiative shines the spotlight on businesses that are taking Eswatini to the world and bringing foreign currency back home. Manager Export Trade Promotion Tandega Dlamini shares some of the categories on these awards, which recognize the game changers of trade.
The categories that will be contended for this year are Exporter of the Year overall, like this one awards the exporter who was able to excel on all aspects that we look at. And then we have High Impact Exporter. This is an exporter who was able to impact most in terms of economic growth, in terms of society as a whole. And then we have the Best Exporter for Market Diversification. We also have the Most Innovative and Versatile Exporter.
Business Eswatini's Chief Executive Inathi Dlamini is calling on local companies to actively participate in the upcoming awards, stressing the importance of seizing such opportunities to gain recognition and build trust in the marketplace.
These awards help embolden businesses
to be bold as to look outside. So therefore, we're very, very much excited. But also, another critical issue is that every time we export, we receive what you call foreign receipts. The foreign receipts help with our foreign exchange reserves in the country.
Last year, the Eswatini Sugar Association was a major winner, taking home the overall Best Global Exporter of the Year award, as well as the awards for Best Exporter to the European Union and Best Exporter to the rest of the world. Other companies that took home awards include Montigny Investment, TQM, Coca-Cola Eswatini, Ngwenya Glass, and Swazi Candles. Reporting, Nelson Dlangamandla, Derek Msibi, Mbabane.
In our international news this morning, truckloads of food reached hungry Gazans on July 28 after Israel promised to open secure aid routes, but humanitarian agencies warned vast amounts more were needed to stave off starvation. With Gaza's population of more than 2 million facing famine and malnutrition, Israel bowed to international pressure at the weekend and announced a daily tactical pause in fighting in some areas.
While there may be images of food being dropped over Gaza, and while Israel may be offering journalists media tours of the aid that they say they're allowing to be delivered to the Strip, amidst their announcement that more than 100 trucks were let in, the reality for many Palestinians remains entirely different. As the death toll from the conflict inches towards 60,000 Palestinians killed, crippling hunger persists.
We haven't seen anything. We haven't seen aid from land, air, or anywhere else. Here we are, sitting by the road, receiving nothing, and nothing is reaching us.
They said it would be a humanitarian ceasefire. We didn't see it. We saw the planes, but we didn't see what they dropped. If they dropped it, it would only be a few boxes. What would that suffice? How many families are in the camp? How many families in a second and third camp?
The United Nations says it's trying to reach as many starving people as possible, but it says it needs faster approval by Israel to move the aid trucks in. The UN's chief aid coordinator said some restrictions have eased, but sustainable action and quicker clearances are lacking. The UN Secretary General again condemned the use of hunger as a weapon of war.
Conflicts continues to drive hunger from Gaza to Sudan and beyond. Hunger feeds further instability and undermines peace. We must never accept hunger as a weapon of war.
Benjamin Netanyahu has rejected that famine exists in Gaza, saying it's a lie.
And there is no starvation in Gaza.
But be it the images of dying children and emaciated families, or the pleas for help from Palestinians, or the calls for action worldwide, mass hunger continues in Gaza.
U.S. President Donald Trump on Monday cut down his 50-day deadline for Russia to end the war in Ukraine to about 10 or 12 days, adding that he was not very interested in talking to his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin following repeated failures to bring about a ceasefire.
Cleaned up the damage from yet another drone strike on Monday, part of a massed overnight Russian attack. President Volodymyr Zelensky thanked his U.S. counterpart for stepping up the pressure on Moscow.
Russia respects sanctions. Peace through strength is possible. Ukraine, as always, is ready to work as productively as possible with America. To work with President Trump to end this war with dignity and lasting peace.
Ukrainians, though, are far less optimistic over Donald Trump's demand Moscow makes progress towards peace by the second week of August.
Putin will, as usual, come up with something and make some promises. Trump will think he's a good guy, and then they'll have a very good conversation. Then all of a sudden, missiles will come flying at us. It's like some sort of algorithm.
For them, only one thing will serve to beat back Russia's forces.
For me, it sounds like a joke, to be honest. I don't believe Trump can stop this war. What we need is aid, military aid.
Trump had previously given Russia 50 days to show it was serious about ending 3.5 years of war, or face even further sanctions and tariffs on its already battered economy. Russia, though, showed signs of calling Washington's bluff as its former leader and close Vladimir Putin ally took to social media in response.
Trump's playing the ultimatum game with Russia, 50 days or 10. He should remember two things. 1, Russia isn't Israel or even Iran. 2, each new ultimatum is a threat and a step towards war.
After blowing cold on aid for Ukraine, though, Washington has been working with Europe on a pipeline for new military supplies for Kyiv, as Moscow's troops continue to grind away along the front line.
U.S. President Donald Trump announced on July 28 that the United States was imposing 15% tariffs on all EU countries. These countries are not all equally exposed to the U.S. market and so will not suffer the same consequences when the duties kick in on August 1st.
A huge deal.
A deal with winners and losers. 15% U.S. tariffs on most European goods are well below Donald Trump's worst threats, but far higher than the pre-Trump baseline of just around 1%. EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen emphasizing a number of exemptions for key European industries.
Today we have also agreed on a 0 for 0 tariffs on a number of strategic products. This includes all aircraft and component parts.
That aeronautics carve-out a particular relief for European plane maker Airbus. The continent's civil aviation industry as a whole accounts for some 1 million European jobs and relies heavily on exports. French airplane and parts exports to the U.S. hit 9.7 billion euros worth last year. For Europe's critical automobile sector, a lightening of the burden. Imported cars have faced a global 25% U.S. tariff since April. European automakers shipped around 38.5 billion euros worth of vehicles to the States last year. Trump's tariffs have caused deep concern, especially for German firms.
The fact that we will now only get 15% on European automotives means that for the German economy, also the economic damage, the economic harm will be manageable. It will be felt, but it will be manageable.
Europe's pharmaceutical industry, meanwhile, will see its tariff rate increase, though not as much as it had feared. 15% is far lighter than the 200% Trump had recently been threatening. The continent's luxury goods industry, though, set to take a hit as tariffs for products like leather goods, fragrances, and cosmetics had recently been just 10%. Steel and aluminum as well to remain under 50% U.S. tariffs for now, with talks on reduced tariff quotas to continue. Several other sectors remain in suspense, like European wines and liquors, their eventual tariff fates still subject to ongoing negotiations.
Thailand and Cambodia have agreed to an unconditional ceasefire starting at midnight. Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim said on July 28 a significant breakthrough to resolve 5 days of deadly border clashes that have killed dozens and displaced tens of thousands of people.
A symbolic handshake sealed the announcement. Thailand and Cambodia have agreed to lay down arms after days of deadly fighting along their border. The Malaysian Prime Minister, who hosted negotiations as the current chair of the ASEAN regional bloc, said the ceasefire would go into effect at midnight, Monday into Tuesday.
This is a vital first step towards de-escalation and the restoration of peace and security. As the current chair of ASEAN, Malaysia stands ready to coordinate and observe a team to verify and ensure its implementation.
Thailand and Cambodia also committed to holding meetings between military officials this Tuesday before a cross-border committee would meet in Cambodia on August 4. Leaders thanked the United States and China for their involvement in talks, allies of Thailand and Cambodia respectively. The ceasefire ends 5 days of fighting along the border, which has killed dozens of people and displaced hundreds of thousands.
We have a total of 300,000 both sides of refugees, 140,000 on Cambodian side, 160,000 on Thai side.
Thailand and Cambodia accuse each other of starting the fighting last week, which escalated with heavy artillery bombardment and airstrikes. The neighbours have been locked in a dispute for decades over undemarcated points along their 817-kilometre land border, which includes ancient temples. Recent tensions escalated after the killing of a Cambodian soldier during a brief skirmish late in May.
Firefighters were battling several blazes across Turkey on July 28 when the country sweltered in a summer heat wave, officials said.
Like much of the rest of Turkey, the Kurdish city of Diyarbakir is sweltering in unprecedented temperatures. During the day, the mercury has hit 40 degrees over the past week, an intolerable situation, according to locals.
We're running away from hot weather from home. We go home and it's hot, and we run out. You see, it's hot outside and we're burning. We don't even know where to go anymore. I don't know what has become of Diyarbakir. We're dying of heat.
Others say it's part of a pattern of increasing heat, one with man-made causes.
There's a huge difference. It seems to be getting worse all the time. Last year it was hot too, but it wasn't as hot as this year. It's different from an ecological perspective too. They're cutting down trees, building dams, plundering nature, burning everywhere. They're doing this on purpose. Nothing burns on its own.
On Friday, Turkish authorities recorded the country's highest ever temperatures in Silopi, 300 kilometres east of Diyarbakir. The hot weather is also bringing now familiar dangers elsewhere in the country. Forest fires are wreaking havoc in the Anatolian city of Karabukh, where 10 villages were forced to evacuate as high winds fanned the flames. Turkey's fourth largest city, Bursa, was also threatened by blazes, which devastated large tracts of vegetation in the surrounding hills. More than 3,000 residents were forced to flee their homes. A total of 6 wildfires have burned in Turkey over the past week. The country's Agriculture and Forestry Ministry says all are now under control.
UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres said the only realistic, just and sustainable solution is 2 states, Israel and Palestine, living side by side in peace and security within secure and recognized borders on the basis of the pre-1967 lines, with Jerusalem as the capital of both, in line with international law, UN resolutions and other relevant agreements.
I once again thank the government of France and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for organizing this international conference on the implementation of the 2-state solution. Let's tell it straight. For decades, Middle East diplomacy has been far more process than peace. Words, speeches, declarations may not have much meaning to those on the ground. They have seen it before. They have heard it before. Meanwhile, destruction and annexation bulldoze ahead. The onus and obligation is on all of us to prove that this effort is something different. We know the central question for Middle East peace is implementation of the 2-state solution, where 2 independent, sovereign, democratic states, Israel and Palestine, live side by side in peace and security. My central question to those who stand in the way is this: what is the alternative? A 1-state reality where Palestinians are denied equal rights and forced to live under perpetual occupation and inequality? Or a 1-state reality where Palestinians are expelled from their land? That is not peace. That is not justice. That is not in accordance with international law, and that is not acceptable. That will only increase the growing isolation of Israel on the global stage. Let's be clear. Statehood for the Palestinians is a right, not a reward. And the denial of statehood would be a gift to extremists everywhere. Excellencies, the only realistic, just and sustainable solution is 2 states, Israel and Palestine, living side by side in peace and security, within secure and recognized borders on the basis of the pre-1967 lines, with Jerusalem as the capital of both, in line with international law, UN resolutions and other relevant agreements. 2 states recognized by all and fully integrated into the international community. But time is running out. With every passing day, trust is slipping, institutions are weakened, and hopes are dashed. That is why I implore the international community not only to keep the two-state solution alive, but to take the urgent, concrete, irreversible steps necessary to make it real. That means immediately ending violence, immediately ceasing annexation and settlement activities as called by the International Court of Justice, rejecting the forced displacement of the Palestinian population from any part of the occupied Palestinian territory, which would constitute a grave violation of international human rights and humanitarian law, rejecting any form of ethnic cleansing, ensuring full accountability for any atrocity crimes and other violations of international law, restoring credible political dialogue, and reaffirming the equal rights and dignity of both peoples. All this requires courage from leaders on the ground and courage from the international community to act with principle and persistence. Starting with Gaza. Excellencies, nothing can justify the horrific 7 October terror attacks by Hamas, and nothing can justify the scale of death and destruction in Gaza since then, a level without precedent in recent times. Gaza has descended into a cascade of catastrophes, tens of thousands dead, virtually the entire population displaced many times over, the shadow of starvation looming over everyone, all with the world watching. I welcome recent steps to reduce restrictions to life-saving humanitarian aid, but this is far from the solution to end the nightmare. We need an immediate, permanent ceasefire, the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages, and full and unfettered humanitarian access. These are not preconditions for peace. They are the foundation of it. And let's be equally clear. Beyond Gaza, the continued occupation of the occupied Palestinian territory, including East Jerusalem, is illegal. It must end. It is the law, reaffirmed by the International Court of Justice in its advisory opinion of July 2024, reaffirmed by this Assembly and rooted in international law. Excellencies, let us reject the false choice between Palestinian statehood and Israeli security. There is no security in occupation. Let us affirm Israel's legitimate security concerns must be addressed, and so must the legitimate rights of the Palestinian people. We must speak with one voice to condemn all acts of terror, to denounce all targeting of civilians and taking of hostages, to reject incitement to hatred and violence. And we must call on Israel to recommit clearly and unequivocally to the two-state solution and to cease all actions that undermine it. And we must support Palestinian unity around a peaceful, democratic and inclusive vision of statehood. Let us lay the groundwork for unified Palestinian governance, credible security arrangements, and a Palestinian Authority that carries out reforms and that can deliver for its people. The Palestinian Authority has taken critical reform steps. I urge the international community to recognize when progress is made and to continue to support the Palestinian government in its reform agenda under incredibly challenging circumstances. Excellencies, this conflict cannot be managed. It must be resolved. We cannot wait for perfect conditions. We must create them. We cannot defer peace efforts until suffering becomes unbearable. We must act before it is too late.
Excellencies, at its core, this is not only a political challenge, it is a matter of shared values and principles. The principle that all peoples are equal in rights, equal in dignity and entitled to live free of fear, that no nation should live in permanent insecurity, and that no people should live under continued occupation. This is the promise of the United Nations Charter and international law. This is the call of conscience. Let us answer that call with clarity, courage, and conviction. Let us, at long last, choose the path of peace, not as a concept, but as a commitment, not as a dream, but as a reality, for Palestinians, for Israelis, for the people of the Middle East and the world. Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of our news bulletin this morning. After the break, stay tuned for Sifiso Ngumana's interview with United World College, Waterford, Kamhlaba.
Of the General Assembly.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi.
Aba research bafunze.
Being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula.
Nathi kufuna sente ukukhiqiza ngokusembili.
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. Discover just how far you go to expand your understanding of life's greatest mysteries. There's just one place on this planet with so much to offer. Now is the time for you to have the royal experience.
Right, 34 minutes after 7. Thank you for staying with us here on Kusile Breakfast Show. Welcome back. We get into our second interview segment now. And when we talk about building the future, we often go straight to the boardrooms, the ministries, the global summits. But this morning, we want to flip the script and turn to the real experts, the young people who will actually have to live in the world that we are all trying to design. At Waterford Kamhlaba, the annual Careers Fair is not just a school event, but it's a platform. It is a place where imagination is going to meet opportunity, where embassies, banks, universities, NGOs, as well as innovators gather under one roof to engage with the next generation of thinkers, of builders, as well as leaders. And today we are speaking to two of them, Wenzobuhle Vilagati and Mashumi Mavimbela. They are IB2 seniors standing at the edge of high school and staring straight into the unknown. They have walked through the fair and they have engaged with the world, and they've begun shaping their own blueprints for what comes next. So we want to ask them, what does it mean to dream in a small country that is with an intentional global education, but also what does ambition sound like when it's backed by clarity? And how do you prepare, not just for your next class, but for your next chapter? Let's find out from these two. Good morning to the both of you.
Good morning, sir.
Maybe I should start by congratulating the both of you for, reaching IB2. I think that speaks to resilience and hard work, and certainly a sense of brilliance there, because you don't just reach IB2 without all those three important aspects. Maybe allow me to start with Wenzobuhle. You're months away from completing your IB diploma. Congratulations on that. When you think of life after high school, after Waterford, what really excites you? And what, if we're being honest, keeps you up at night?
Very good question. I have been at Waterford for 6 years now, so I think mainly what I'm eager for life outside of that space would be trying something new, especially with trying a new space and domain and getting to know new people. So that's definitely what I'm excited for. With the skills that I've learned at school, I'm very keen to, be that initiative starter and start conversations that are very vital to the continuity of our continent and unfolding our blueprint. But in terms of career-wise, as you know, our whole theme is central to that. I think it's an opportunity for me to really make an impact in the career field that I'd want to do. So I think I'm very excited to see how that pans out and see if that's exactly what I've imagined and see if that's actually a passion for me, because I feel like even with going into university, it's not a finality, it's just a step to see if this is a space where I want to really be invested. So I think that would be my response to that.
Do you want to highlight maybe what that career looks like in terms of, the sector?
I see. I'm going into a STEM field, engineering. It sounds very rigid and very, structured. I want to really investigate if that's exactly what it looks like, or there's room for flexibility. And as a, United World College student, I'm very keen on trying to break the boundaries and figure out how I can make it more intrinsic to myself and, the character that I am. So I'm very excited to see what it has in store for me.
Absolutely. There seems to be a lot of advocacy around, helping women break the existing barriers and boundaries, that are preventing you guys from operating in that space. So all the best in that. Let me come to you, Mashumi. We often hear people say the world is your oyster, but we know if you love seafood and you've had an oyster before, they don't open up by themselves. They need you to open them. And I want to understand from you, what are the real pressures and expectations that you feel as someone who is trying to break into the world from a small kingdom like Eswatini?
The real pressures comes with the opportunities that are within our country. We have minimal opportunities, so we have to make the most of what you have. And coming from UWC, we get to embrace all these opportunities,
Really excited for you when it comes to that. The fact that you understand that, the culture which you have, operated in allows you to see, a multifaceted sort of approach to life. I suppose that's going to allow you to really, break into this new space and also be able to participate there. Let me come back to you, Wenzo. And I suppose as we get into the heart of the conversation, which is careers fair, I don't like careers fairs where we see a lot of booths and brochures and, not really, the undertaking after it. I want the gateways to possibility to really show the possibility. And I want to ask you, what moment at this year's fair is going to catch you off guard and something that made you think, wait, I can actually do that?
That's a very interesting question. I would say that what would be most striking for me as a student who's watched the Careers Fair for 6 years would be the fact that we have an external artist that would be coming. I think that is something that's new that we haven't really tried before, and it's also just showing the youth that there's also this aspect of careers that you can, venture into as opposed to the systematic ones like engineering, law firms, medicine, etc. We're trying to be more inclusive of the arts and, the practical ventures that some of our students are keen in as well. So I think that would really be a takeaway, but still nudging on the fact that the basics are also there, the systems, the rules are also really a great place to start. So I think we're trying to be very holistic this year and create a, broad perspective so that it's not just you thinking I can go into this, this, and this, but rather looking at the broader scale.
Yeah. Mashumi, a space like the Careers Fair has a lot of institutions. It has a lot of, representatives from the industry. And spaces like that require a lot of confidence. In fact, in the labor field, we call confidence a currency. How do you, as a young person who is still, yet to get into that space, make yourself seen, but also heard, not as a student, but as a future professional?
As a young person, you have to build your confidence going up. We're tasked with communicating with various companies, including the likes of Ilovo, Montegni, which builds a lot of courage because you're actually speaking to the senior guys in positions in our current societies. So taking that initiative as a student yourself, as a young IB2, and going out there, communicating with confidence, and helps you grow actually mentally, because later in life you are the one who's actually going to be occupying those spaces, and you sort of get to understand what it takes to actually go up and find yourself in those particular spaces.
I see, Wenzo, you're nodding there. Do you want to piggyback there?
I think definitely with the way in which our CAS works, we had to really be the initiative takers and go and knock on doors and send the emails, even when you don't feel like you're going to be heard or have someone who's going to respond. So I think definitely it does create a sense of courage and confidence, so that when you come into spaces like this, for instance, you're able to speak with poise and all of these things because you've been brought up in a system of trying, failing, and trying again. So I think definitely I agree with what Mashumi has raised.
Yeah, absolutely. It also helps you to deal with rejection, I suppose. Not all those doors are going to open, right?
Not all of them have, yes.
Yeah. Now, the real tension between academic excellence as well as emotional well-being, something that exists, is something that we are awake to. What's something you wish adults understood about the pressure of being a high-performing student, especially in a globally competitive school like WK?
Wow. I think it's more of perspective, in the sense that, yes, I am capable and I'm academically, as you said, excellent. There are times where, for instance, the course that we're taking is very demanding, and you have more than just the academic lens that you're focusing on. You're also building up confidence, leadership skills, and that requires a lot of time, commitment, and effort, and at times it becomes very overwhelming. So it does nudge into a space where you feel a bit exhausted and you're not performing at your best. But I'd like to say that our school has really been a great support in that sense, and our parents as well, because we've been able to communicate that, okay, this is where I'm at as a student, this is the demands that I have, and this is the capability and the capacity that I have in the moment. So I think it's also just nudging on support from the school system, your parents, and also being the person to take initiative and communicate where you are. It's also very important to ensure that there's a balance between academic excellence and your mental health.
Yeah. Do you know, the thing about IB is, as an IB student, you're sort of required to become a global citizen before you even have a driver's license. Before you even hop out of those gates at WK and you venture into, whatever ambitions that you have in terms of tertiary. What does an everyday life look like? What does global citizenship mean to you? And how do you live it in practical, everyday terms?
So with us coming from UWC, we have what we call CAS, which is creativity, activity, and service. And what we are doing for CAS is the CSI. We generally a group of 10 students who go out and talk to young adults like us, talking about career-wise, making them build up on their strengths. So that aspect of going out into the community already at such a young age actually shows our global thoughts and
yeah. Oh, do you have anything to add into that?
I think you answered very beautifully.
Okay, I love it. Let's talk about gendered realities and shared futures. First of all, let me acknowledge the fact that, and commend the fact that I have a female and a male. I think that's good representation, and you're leading by example there. I hope that was intentional. You have both sides of the coin. What do you each believe are the biggest challenges, your unique challenges, and the biggest advantages of being your gender in this generation? Let me start with you.
I would say as a woman, you have the inclination to be more caring and more, sensitive to the people around you. And I think it is applicable to many spheres. Even though you want to be the big dog, you also have that sense of wanting to be hospitable. And that's how I've chosen to lead in CSI. I'd come as the group leader for the week with some snacks so that we can break the ice, and before we get to the rigid stuff of the program and say, okay, so this is the plan, this, and this, of course, still taking into account that we actually have to meet the demands for the day, but just being more, I won't say softer, but just intentional about creating connections in the spaces that I'm in would be that. But of course, in some instances, some people would take that as being hyper feminine and all of these things, which is barriers that we as women face, and just the feeling of being undermined because of doing such things. But I feel like it's still vital, even when you're going into the spaces, just to be feminine, just to continue and work from, your comfort, but that's of course to say that it's not for everyone. There's femininity in many different facets. This is just the one that I've chosen to exemplify.
Yeah, I like that. By the way, I do want to highlight an excerpt that I took from pronouncements by the chief executive of the town in Babane, Qiniwe Fagutse. She said something very compelling. By the way, there's nothing wrong with leading as a female and from a feminine point of view and being soft. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. We've seen some amazing women who have led from that front using, of course, their softness and their femininity. Leadership is different as long as you're doing a good job and you deliver the results. And I suppose women at home need to understand that they don't have to try to be masculine. They can be feminine and still be good leaders. And what are some of the unique challenges that you feel like males have?
So with the challenges that men have, it usually comes from the upbringing. You are brought up to be this strong character who's always leading, and what I want other men out there to understand is that you can be, this soft man leading from the back and not necessarily always having to be at the head of everything.
I suppose that's very true because I suppose leadership requires a high sense of empathy. And if you really look at the word empathy, it requires some sort of a softness and understanding of the next person. And women, I suppose, possess that biologically. And men, as a social construct, we tend to be taught otherwise. That's not good. What are some of the advantages that you have learned from working together, men and women?
I think the balance, sometimes we can be over-optimistic. Then we have Mashumi and the rest of my team being, okay, perhaps not that at this given time. So I think practicality as well. It's very important to be able to complement each other in a team. And I think when you have both males and females representatives in a system, you're able to get a lens from this side and this side to come to a productive end. So I think that would be the advantage of working collaboratively.
Now, Mashumi, I know you're preparing for a future that may include, of course, university. It may also include work. It may also include entrepreneurship, who knows, or all three at the same time. What's your strategy for building a life and not just a resume? And who or what inspires your blueprint?
My strategy, basically, working hard. You have to work hard to go out there and get the things you want. Like you said, I actually want to major in financial stats, which requires a lot of work and that. And what actually encourages me or inspires me, my parents, who actually also do work hard, and the thought of going out there, working hard for myself and getting the future that I want, and actually helping my parents out and the community as a whole is also what actually inspires me to actually push and get to where I want to be in life.
That's good. You know, if you're inspired by your parents, I suppose you also want to inspire your kids as well when you become a parent. And who inspires you? What inspires you, and what's your strategy for a life that is going to, you know, not just going to be a resume, but building a real life that may include work, life, university, or all three at the same time?
I'd also say that my parents have played a very vital role in being there for me and showing me that perseverance is very important, especially in an economy as Eswatini is, with my mom being a teacher and being in the front of academics and being, you know, an academic. I've learned that, you know, you have to really be intentional, you have to be very systematic, you have to be accountable, and all of these things are things that I apply in my everyday academic journey in my life. But I'd also say that what inspires me the most is wanting to just be a good person and a person who actually has made change. So opposed to just getting the degree and getting the PhD, what else have I done? What impact have I made in my community? And I feel like CSI is also one of those initiatives that I wanted to do intentionally to make an impact in my community at the age that I am. You know, going to speak to my age mates and talking about future so that they can also be aware that there's options that are available for them if they make initiatives such as myself. Yeah. So I feel like it would just be trying to balance the working hard ethic, but also being very intentional about impact and change.
I love the last two words, impact and change. You're both IB students, seniors at that, which means whether you like it or not, you are role models to everyone that's behind you. What kind of leadership style do you want to model for everyone that's looking at you, that's behind you? And you know, how do you propose that they continue to model their lives as they continue their lives at WK?
I would say the best leadership style for me is laissez-faire. So it's this business term where you just have everyone coming in together to bring in input. I feel like the best leaders are not dictators, but rather the people that allow other people to bring in their input and to lead from behind, you know, and also be led to really be understanding of the needs of the people so that you can really present and represent them best. So I think that would be the kind of example of leadership that I'd want to be. And we've been able to execute that in our CSI group, where we have shifts in leaders every week. So everyone has an opportunity to lead, and we get to be led as well and be able to, you know, respect someone else's authority. So I feel like it's a very good balance of leading initiatives, but also giving other people the opportunity to lead.
What's the word again?
Laissez-faire.
Laissez-faire.
Yeah.
Okay, new word we're learning here. And Mashumi, you model your leadership using the same style?
Yeah, it's the same style. And yeah, as she's spoken about, you know, dialogue and yeah, continuously conversing with other people, getting the thoughts of other people and including them in these decision making spaces is one leadership style that I would take for myself.
I like it because I suppose it understands that you haven't gotten everything figured out, and that's a good leadership trait. Perhaps a final thought from the both of you. Time is not on our side. What's the one lesson that Waterford has taught you about your voice, and how do you plan to use it when you leave the gates?
Very nice. I think it would be that my voice actually matters. You know, even if I am a part of the youth, I still have a voice that's vital. We see it in Africa Week, we see it in Careers Fair, we see it in all spheres of the academic program. Whether I'm having, you know, a hard week and I want to communicate with my FACE coordinator that I'd like to have an ease up on X, Y, and Z, I'm able to advocate for myself and to be heard. So I think that is really the best lesson that I've learned from WK.
And one that I've learned is also in line with what she has spoken about, and that's the ability to stand up for yourself and actually communicate your thoughts.
That's impressive. Congratulations to the both of you for reaching IB2. I love the work that you do as CSI representatives. And hopefully we get the results that we want from the Careers Fair. Talk to the students now. I will give you the last opportunity to speak. You know, talk to the students who are coming to Careers Fair and what they should expect there.
Mashumi?
So Careers Fair is tomorrow, 30th. It's basically a trade show where we have company stores situated around the field of Waterford Gamshaba. We'll have the students coming up and actually getting the insights and from these companies, and we also have universities coming up, such as University of Johannesburg, who will come and actually give their institutional inputs towards the students.
Okay. And just as a closing statement, I would just say that take the opportunity and take the initiative, because it's right there. You know, if you have the opportunity to come, because it is an open event. We're taking even people that are not high school students. If you've graduated and you're still looking for employment, this is the opportunity for you to network and create, you know, a system whereby you can not only just talk to one company or Standard Bank, but you can also go to Nedbank. We have a really good system, and with our sponsors in place like Old Mutual, we're really grateful for them giving us the opportunity to be able to host our youth and to be able to empower them and give them the sense that they can, in fact, you know, take initiative and they can be stewards of their own futures. So I think that would be my sentiment. Just go in there intentionally and take opportunities, ask the questions, be, you know, that student that is there asking again and again, because that's really how you make a mark for these esteemed corporations that we'll be having.
Love it. Thanks so much to the both of you. Well, there you have it. It's two voices with me here in studio. One fair tomorrow and a future that doesn't need any permission, and certainly a lot of voices tomorrow. And I do not want to say a lot. They have said everything succinctly. We hope that it's going to be a beautiful fair tomorrow, and there's going to be a beautiful cross-pollination of information between everyone that's going there. Let's go for a quick ad break. We'll be back to wrap up the show shortly.
Hi, I'm Alex. Let's talk about banks, specifically central banks. Believe it or not, they're really important to our everyday lives. Central banks manage the flow of money in a country's economy, so things don't go haywire. They're typically part of the government, although they should operate independently. The specific roles of central banks vary from country to country, but they usually have a few key responsibilities. Mainly, they're in charge of monetary policy to keep prices stable. One way they do this is through what's called the interest rate, which is the cost of borrowing money. Central banks lower interest rates, making credit cheap to boost the economy. Because when credit to buy things, such as homes, food, and cars gets cheaper, people tend to buy more. And who doesn't love that? But when prices get too high, central banks can raise rates, making money more expensive to borrow. This can slow growth, but it also brings down prices. Central banks also buy and sell foreign currency. They can do this to weaken or support the value of their own currency. Stability isn't just about keeping prices steady. That's why central banks also play a key role in preserving financial stability. For example, if a commercial bank is in trouble, a central bank can give them a loan, but only as a last resort. Central banks have been using all of these tools to help keep things stable for hundreds of years. Okay, so why am I telling you this? Well, whether you're buying bread, or a pomegranate, or even starting a business, that stability is important for all of us. And here at the IMF, a big part of our job is providing policy advice that can help central banks all over the world meet their price and financial stability goals.
All right, to 2 minutes before we hit the home stretch of the hour. Thank you so much for staying with us here on Kusile Breakfast Show. I hope that you've enjoyed the show. Learned quite a lot today about immunization, a very important topic. And I hope parents were listening to that conversation between Oli and Kusile. And certainly the kids, I hope they were listening to the last conversation.
You know, speaking of listening, I was listening to your conversation with United World College students, and I must say, you can call me a feminist at this point, when she boldly said she wants to venture in STEM. You know, in a time where there's much advocacy, I really, really love that for her. And then the other element was the subject of impact and change. Beyond the academic validation, beyond the academic success, what do you leave behind?
Yeah, and you know, for people who are still in high school, well, it's not high school, so to speak, because it's IB, but to understand the idea around impact and change at such a young age, it speaks to a future that is beautiful.
And
we are going to have leaders indeed.
Indeed.
Yeah. 59 minutes after 7. Thank you so much for staying with us here. We hope that we'll see you again at 2 p.m. on our Market View program. Have yourselves a good day. Remember to carry that extra jacket. Temperatures are very low this week. Enjoy your day. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow.
Laissez-faire.